Hi guys, my name is Chauvinist and I'm here to demonstrate Chop Down Updated. Basically the mod does this. Naming a semi-realistic chop down of trees. A couple of things the new updated version tries to do is distinguish between trees within a forest as much as it can. So for example, instead of taking all the leaves from this tree and this tree at the same time, it has only taken the leaves from the tree it thinks it belongs to. Another thing it will compensate for and try and deal with is logs that it believes shouldn't belong to a tree. So it hasn't tried to make this fall down. One of the side effects of this is, for example, this tree is touching a dirt block to the side. So if I try and chop this down, it won't chop down. And this is because it assumes that this is part of a building. The tree must also be on a solid block of some form. So again, if I try and chop this down, it won't class it as a tree. If I just chop down these trees in the forest, it will do as good a job as it can of trying to guess which tree. Of course, it will fall through the other tree. You can't make it fall against it or anything like that. And so if you want to not have an ugly looking mess, always try and cut trees down facing outward from your forest. Another thing it does do is if you have a mixed set of trees, due to the configurations, it will only take leaves and blocks that are of the same type that you've just chopped down. So, for example, I'll chop down this acacia. It should only bring down the acacia locks and leaves. You can see it's not touched any of the oaks nor the birch. It has taken some leaves off there, but that's because the acacia wiped over those leaves. It can deal with very tall trees, and I do mean very tall trees. We'll chop this down. I'll go over the config settings for this in a second. I mean, I could chop that down and that down. You get the idea. A couple of things you can do if you're running into problems, or for example you've got a tree from a mod that's missing a configuration, you can do some settings here. We've got make glass, don't drop, and show block name. Make glass, make glass will turn basically a tree into glass. Okay, so it still thinks this is part of the tree, so that you can see what's all that's fallen down. The problem I have if I try and chop down, say, that tree there, is it's not going to chop down because it sees the glass as an object to not chop down. If I do make glass and don't drop, crying out loud, then we can see basically what it thinks the tree is without it falling over. You see there, you can see how it's split the leaves up to what it thinks is what. It's only an estimation, but generally it works well enough to stay immersive. We can also do show block name. Oops, almost made the same mistake again. I need to do language files for that. And see, when I started chopping, it told me what it thinks the log is, and if I click that, and that's so that you can set up your own configurations. If you do find a tree that's not chopping, please tell me, and I will add it to the configurations. So like this. Just go have a look at the config options. So you can configure this in real time in the game. So config. So this configuration basically is to sort of lighten the load, but also trees that fall with the leaves can in forests create a bit of a mess. So if we set this to true, we'll just go and oh, bear with me. Just go and chop this tree down. So this is with the drop leaves on. Sorry. Turn off these configs. Let's just go in creative. Ah, it grew anyway. So if I chop this tree down, you see none of the leaves dropped, and basically it gave me the leaves. We'll do it on this one. So the drops have basically been dropped on top of me, and instead of the leaves falling down. And this in forests, which I don't really have many around, it just makes it a bit cleaner. Now, for really large trees like Natura's redwood, the game can handle this, but rather than dropping entities, so anything over the configured value that we have here, it will basically do a manual move, which is to pretend that it fell down and just place the blocks in the world instead. Let me just, while I'm here, go over the other configurations. This lower logs is so that when it drops, basically all the logs try to go to the bottom of the tree, and this generally looks better if I, for example, show you a tree without this setting on. I've turned particles off because of night vision. So when I chop this down, oh, of course I need to turn off. You have to excuse me because I'm not used to making videos. They're saying when this tree falls now, see the logs are remain in their positions relative to the leaves, which for starters means that you end up with more leaves. The shape looks a bit less even, and yeah, it's all wonky. So that's what that configuration does. It adds a slight bit of load, but this is a multi-threaded operation anyway. It's to try and reduce the lag on the system. So it's not really a config you need to mess with unless you really want to. Okay, let's turn it back So as I was saying, this is the maximum total blocks before it'll try and do a manual move again to reduce server load. So if I chop this down, it's now you see it's timed out. Now if it's not timed out, I can still place, I can still do other stuff in the game, but it won't let me chop down another tree. It'll say still chopping down the last tree. This means that other people can get on with playing the game while you wait for it to calculate this tree. This is a particularly large redwood. There's probably a few thousand blocks in here. It's gonna take a while. Actually, it doesn't normally take. There we go. Normally take that long. You see, it caused a little bit of lag, but nothing major. Okay, and now still dealing with it. Most of the problem here is rendering, so it should only be an issue for me. Now normally when a tree falls into water, it will fall into water. I haven't allowed it to move through water when it does a manual move. So for example, if I chop down this tree here, and it falls into the water, it's not doing a manual move, so it just does it as falling entities into the water. However, this tree is stupidly large, so it calculates where the tree should be put and lays it down, which means that it'll lay down on top of the water. But hey, it's only redwoods that are going to be doing this in the first place. Okay, I think I have covered everything. Thanks for watching. See you later.